Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Oh, hello, and happiest of Tuesdays to everyone. How are we doing, gentlemen's?
Good morning.
All good so far. You know
Okay,
what?
good.
The wind and everything was supposed to get real bad last night, and I still got full power and doesn't look windy at all. So fingers crossed on the next couple of days.
Okay, I know it's crazy to be on such edge about wind, but here we are. That's what we're doing. Let's get some basketball going. We got a lot to talk about, and we're going to start with Jimmy Butler because there's more we've added on to the crazy headlines that follow him around right now. So Jake Fisher is reporting that he skipped shoot-arounds. He also requested to fly private away from his teammates. Who wouldn't? Kyle Lowry, by the way, his buddy, has gotten tired, apparently, of sort of these headstrong tendencies that he has on the court. So he's in his second season with the Sixers, has not commented yet on the report. However, I want to ask you guys, Lou, I'll start with you. His friend seems to have gotten tired of him. That's when you know it's gotten kind of bad. What are you thinking about this report?
Well, I'll say Kyle Lowry is a little confused why he's even mentioned in this whole stock. Yeah.
Right.
No, he hasn't sat down and done an official interview with Jake Fisher. So I will say that part. So, you know, as a friend of a friend, I would like to just remove Kyle Lowry's name from this report. But nothing surprises me at all when it comes to, you know, this Jimmy Butler and Miami Heat saga. You know, I think in the next few days, what we're going to see is reports that are going to favor the Miami Heat. We're going to see reports that are going to favor Jimmy Butler. You know, they're basically having a cold war through the media, you know, just trying to swing this narrative. You know, when the last time we've seen Pat Riley do a sit-down interview with anybody and discuss current events that's going on with his team? That's something that we've seen last week with Pat Riley and dealing with this Jimmy Butler thing. You know, I think all in all, you know, the Miami Heat, they expect Jimmy Butler to be back in uniform. And at some point, they got to swing it their way to try to get that done. And to Jimmy's defense, you know, he wants to move on and he wants to do something else. And so what you're seeing is just a war of words from two sides that's trying to find middle ground. It doesn't look like we're going to find it in the next few days. And so that's the only thing that surprised me at all about this. But when you start talking about superstar guys missing shoot-arounds and flying private and doing things, you know, in order for these guys to do these things, they have to be clear or they're going to be fined or they're going to be suspended. We haven't heard any news of Jimmy Butler being suspended or fined for these actions until now, when it's time for him to get back in the Miami Heat uniform or, you know, be traded like he's requesting to do. And so all of these reports and all of these things are going to come out from both sides. That's the only thing that doesn't surprise me at all right now.
By the way, he could return. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Michelle.
Well, I was just going to say he could return Friday. If he finishes the suspension, he would be back against Denver on Friday. So keep that in mind when you answer.
I honestly don't see that happening. I don't see him ever playing again for the Heat. And Lou brings up a good point. The flying private thing, although that is wildly expensive and seems a bit excessive from him just personally, I don't know what his agenda there is. Maybe he's just trying to prove a point that really he doesn't need them at this point and he's okay flying himself. I don't know how long that's going to last. But there's no fines. Besides the suspension, there's been no other to the public knowledge of any other fine or situation. So the Kyle Lowry thing is also weird. It's like he's not even on the Heat, and I'm friends with a lot of NBA players. My name wouldn't just get dragged into their drama, but so I would take with a grain of salt on those two things. But I'm not surprised here at all. Honestly, this has been in Jimmy's DNA and kind of his personality. Really, since he started hooping in Chicago, he's had a lot of issues with every team he's been on, and this is just a war right now that they're in. And the Heat are a middle of a pack team right now. So from Pat Riley's standpoint, obviously he's keeping his phone on loud and he's hearing out all offers, but they still are in the thick of things right now with all this. So I don't want my season just to be remembered as the Jimmy Butler drama season. Like I still have Bam, I still have Tyler Hero, and you can still imagine you can get some value for Jimmy Butler. Obviously, as this goes on and there's more drama and more issues, his value is going down and down, just like Bradley Beal's is. When he doesn't play, he's adding out of the lineup, he's off the bench. So these guys are getting devalued every day that goes by without a trade. So if I'm the Heat, man, I am looking at every single option just to try and salvage this season, get something for Jimmy Butler ASAP. You know, even if it's Pat Riley doing a chess game, sending him somewhere that he knows he's miserable, I don't care. I just want the people that want to be here, the people that want to compete on the floor, and I want to just be the focus on the team and winning basketball games, because right now it's not, and they're suffering and they're losing games that they shouldn't lose, but they're still right there in the middle of the pack.
He did do that little, it was a pretty well played troll job with the barista, where he's smiling to camera and he's talking about how bosses should build you up, not tear you down. Chandler's on the record as saying he's not playing again in the Heat, right? So Lou, you've said you do think he comes back. I'm starting to think, how do you come back on Friday with all of this?
Well, I don't know if it's as soon as Friday, but like I said, the trade deadline is in February. We still got a lot of time left, and it doesn't look like the market is heating up for Jimmy Butler as far as teams go, especially when you're going back and forth with your team. Teams know that they can come in and give you a low ball number. They can make you offers that's lenient towards them, opposed to trying to make a fair deal with the Miami Heat for Jimmy Butler. And for that reason, he may be put in a position where he's either looking at more suspension time, where he's going to lose a ton of money, or he's going to have to find middle ground with the Miami Heat and get back in uniform until they can figure something out at the end of this season. That's how I see this thing playing out right now because of the market, you know, and for those reasons, I think we're probably going to see Jimmy Butler back in a Miami Heat uniform unless he's willing to stand on it and die on that hill and lose a ton of money and sit home.
And again, knowing Jimmy and seeing what he's done, like, is he going to do that? If he's not traded, is he just going to shut himself down the rest of this season? Like who knows? Like, this dude seems to be on a mission. He seems to not have his joy right now playing basketball. But again, these offers, they're going to start getting more and more attractive the more issues and the more drama that keeps surrounding this team, because eventually something's got to give, right? Either Pat Riley's got to take a lesser trade of less value that he thinks in his mind, or Jimmy Butler literally has to be like, okay, this could be a career killer right now if I don't at least play the game and play minutes here for a team that has kind of given me everything I've wanted up until, you know, the comments last year. I feel like is where that really stemmed from. The issue with Spo on the bench, where him and UD got in each other's face. There has been some issues leading up to this, but for the most part, we've been raving about the Heat ever since Jimmy Butler have been there, and this whole Heat culture and how they turn it on in the postseason. So I don't really know where it went rogue here, but it just, to me, it's done.
Well, somewhere between the finals and here.
Yeah, we listen all season long. We've been saying something is off about the Miami Heat before these reports start coming out with the issues that they've been having. You know, unfortunately, I just feel like Jimmy doesn't have the leverage in this situation that he usually does. You know, he's owed a ton of money next year with that opt-in. You know, but there comes a consequence with that. You know, he's going to be put in a position to play for the Miami Heat again, and so. At this point, you know, what do you do if you're Jimmy Butler, and what do you do if you're the Miami Heat? So I guess we'll watch as everybody else see it play out.
But I'll say this too, like, you know, as a teammate too, there's this narrative going around that it's starting to be like a team distraction as a teammate standpoint. If you're a Tyler Hero or you're a Bam, obviously you want your team's best chance of winning, and that's with Jimmy Butler. But do you really care if you're Tyler Hero or you're one of these other guys on the Heat, especially if you're one of the guys that are getting more opportunity without Jimmy Butler in the lineup? This is like burning bridges personally with teammates. As an ex-player, I would be a little confused by it, and I would obviously have more light and more knowledge to what's really happening. So when I start seeing these reports that, oh, now the players are getting pissed off, I don't know how far that has to how far it has to go for that to actually happen.
But Chandler, you know how this thing works, man. All of these reports are going to come out. If I'm Tyler Hero and I'm having the year that I'm having, I don't care if Jimmy Butler ever comes back again.
Like, be a first-time All-Star. He does not give a damn that they're sitting out.
Trust me, we know how these things work behind the scenes. These guys are in contact. They've had conversations. It's understood. Listen, guys, this is not working for me. I'm looking for another way out. This has nothing to do with y'all. I enjoy working with y'all. This is not a beef. And if I'm these guys, I've gone 2 weeks without playing with Jimmy Butler, and we played decent basketball since he's been gone. we'll be okay. We want to make sure Jimmy is okay, everybody is okay, and everybody goes home, make their living, and let's continue on our career. So if I'm Tyler Hero, like again, Kyle Lowry's been with the 76ers now. Season, like what is that? What is that?
Why would Kyle Lowry care the slightest of the drama in Miami when he's not even there anymore? The report is.
I don't know. It's a weird throw-in.
Like again, we're gonna see these things. We're gonna see all of these wild reports come out. Some gonna favor Jimmy. Some are gonna favor the Miami Heat. Until they get this thing situated, this is what we're dealing with.
And the last thing I'll say on this, the friendships you have in the NBA are bigger than the organization and what's going. Like when Joakim Noah was playing on the Knicks and the whole he choked out Hornacek thing, then everyone was trying to turn on him. My first call or text was to him to see how he was doing, what he was going through. I didn't give a damn that he was in an altercation with a coach. I know him so well that I know it was for a good reason. You know what I mean? So I'm sure Jimmy Butler, like Lou said, has made it clear. Listen, this has nothing to do with you guys. This is an inner battle with me, and like, don't take anything I'm gonna do offensively, but it's gonna be hairy for a while.
That makes sense. I get that. I get all of it. In the meantime, we're just sort of sitting back watching it like its own little television show.
By the way, I was even the opposite. I was like, screw Hornacek when it happened. Like I took Joakim's side because that's my boy.
Shocking.
Like, yeah.
Well, I get it. Like I would probably take y'all's side if something went down because my loyalty's to you. It's not to the other people. All right, let's keep it moving. We got basketball to talk about. Not great basketball though, so don't get too excited. The Warriors falling below 500 last night when they lose to the Raptors, which by the way is the 4th worst team in the league. That is the first time this season they've fallen below that mark. They're outside the play-in at the moment in 12th. Kerr calling last night the most frustrating night of the season so far. There have been some decision makers over there that said they will take a wait-and-see approach. That's where we are right now as far as the big moves. Obviously, trade deadline less than a month away. Lou, you just referenced it. Can they afford to wait? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an organization that's looking at long haul. You know, they've won 4 championships in the last decade. They understand what it takes to win. And so if it takes them to struggle this year and figure out what they're going to do moving forward, then by all means, they'll do that. You know, they're not one of these hurry up and go type of teams, you know, with everything that they've done, everything that they've been able to accomplish, they can afford to be patient and get it right the way that they like to move forward as a basketball team. So I'm all for that. You know, usually you see teams trying to do a lot of stuff at the trade deadline to be competitive this year. No, the Golden State Warriors, they're in this thing for the long haul. They know what it takes to win championships, and they know it has to be built right. It has to have a solid foundation in order to do that, in order to be successful. And so if that takes a little patience for them to get exactly what they want out of everything and out of this team, I think they stand pat and they do that. They do just that for their own team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but I think more losses like this, Mike Dunleavy, a little panic seeps in and like, okay, what can I do now? And those less attractive offers that we're talking about from Miami, same thing for Golden State, right? And this is a brutal loss. You're not supposed to lose to a team like Toronto that literally is playing their young core pieces that they don't care if they win or lose. And again, the Warriors have enough to win. They have enough to compete. So when you go and you smoke a game like this, it's tough. And they were in the game. I think they were up 9 at one point in this game, and they were outscored 27-15 down the stretch. And Steph Curry, with about less than a minute left, had a 3 to literally take the lead, and then they miss and they get a fast break easy, and it's a 5-point swing. So the Warriors did put themselves in the situation. So I guess that is a good thing, but the fact that they're losing games to Toronto, again, I just think when you have bad losses like this, they're under a magnifying glass, and you start kind of listening more and taking some offers that you don't think are the perfect fit a little bit more seriously.
Well, Draymond obviously had something to say about it. He said that only bad teams mortgage the future for win now moves, and that's what they do, and the Warriors are not that. So it sounds like you guys agree with him that they can afford to be a little bit patient. Right, Chandler?
Also, I think you have to wait right now because any deal that's out there right now clearly doesn't reach the standards of what they want to do. And Blue, you know this, like you don't think if Steph or Draymond said, go get Jimmy Butler or go get Bradley Beal or go get Zach LaVine, that deal would be done. So clearly none of the names that we're hearing right now interest them for the future. I don't think they want to be kind of committed to those contracts long-term when they want to maximize Steph and Draymond right now, I don't think any of these names that we're hearing are for them. And that's okay too. And that's why I think they're going to be patient. I think they're going to play it through. I think they're going to continue to develop these young guys and try and mold Kuminga into this franchise player, keep developing Trace Jackson-Davis and Moody and these young guys, because the better they play, the higher their value goes in some of these future trades. And everyone knows Andrew Wiggins having a good year right now, but his value isn't very high. So I think the one piece you go to is Kuminga. And then it's okay, how quickly are we going to get off this kid who kind of is our only real franchise piece post Draymond and Steph. So they're in a little bit of a bind here, and they're in a bit of a predicament, but I don't think there's room to panic, but I also just don't think they're really into any of these names that we're hearing.
That's going to be another fun one to keep our eye on as the trade deadline gets forward. Guys, we got to talk about one of our favorite players, Anthony Edwards. When we had Boogie on last, we talked about fines, and Anthony Edwards has gotten quite a few already. He got his 5th one the other day, 50 grand for making an obscene gesture towards a game official. I shouldn't laugh. During the second quarter of a loss. He is now for the season at 285, Chandler, $285,000 in just fines. I mean, Boogie said sometimes it's better to just shut up. That's what he said. Are we starting to get to a point where we're like, dude, just stop? I mean, it's his money, I guess.
Yeah, I'm never going to get involved in someone else's pockets, but if DeMarcus Cousins is telling me to pipe down, I might take a real listen. And then again, I think this is just frustrations of how their season's going. I think it's frustrations on kind of the setup of their offense. And we talked about this ever since they make the trade, and we kind of beat a dead horse here, but that trade changed the way Anthony Edwards has to play, and it eliminated a lot of his spacing. It's forcing him to take more threes. He can't get downhill as often just by simple lineup change. So I think that has kind of got to him. And again, he's a very likable dude, so this still doesn't bother me. Is it getting a little much? Sure. You don't want to start getting this rep where you're this shit-talking bad guy that's all over the referees, because these referees are humans at the end of the day too. Are they not going to forget the next time? And if they have you in a playoff game and a big game down the stretch, you want to be liked by the ref to a certain point. You don't want to just keep hounding them. Like we complain about Luka. When Luka does this, it's an issue, right? He's always, oh, the ref. For some reason, and I'm guilty of it too, Anthony Edwards, he's got this charm about him that doesn't bother me. So, which is shocking, but he's just got to be careful. And again, I think when they figure this out, if they do figure it out and they start winning more games, obviously that's going to eliminate a lot of this. But this is just frustration from a budding star that we've kind of put on this pedestal. Anthony Edwards is an all-world talent. He is so fun to watch. In a way, like I feel like media, the NBA is almost breeding him to be the face of the NBA, and there's going to be some up and downs, right? And this year there's more downs than ups, and he's just frustrated, and he's getting fined a lot of money for it. But I do think he'll be okay. I don't think he's a bad dude. I don't think he's a hothead. I think he's just frustrated.
Do you think it would matter, Lou, if there, and by the way, I asked this without an answer of who the person would be, but if there was a vet that Ant really respected on that roster, do you think even with the frustrations of the trade and the losses and all that, would it matter?
By all accounts, he loves Mike Conley and he respects Mike Conley. I don't know if it gets more respectable than that. You know, Mike Conley has been a person that everybody in the world that respects. You can't find somebody to say a bad thing about Mike Conley, especially about his leadership. I think he has that already. Now, can they make some moves to make him a little bit more excited about their roster? Sure. You know, but that's another thing. For me, I would like Ant just to relax a little bit. You know, we're talking about a guy that we're looking for to be the face of the league, to be one of the young stars, and we don't want to get into a space where, you know, parents and all of these young guys are looking at him as that leader that we're saying that he should be looking for. A lot of people are looking up to Ant. You know, I'm from Atlanta. I see what his impact is on this youth. I want him to stay frustrated in the sense of basketball. You know, I don't want this to bleed over into what's going on with people start to attack his character, start to attack who he is as a person because of the things that he's doing on the basketball court while he's competing. You know, I didn't like what I saw the other day. You know, I thought that was an immature thing, but that we can chalk that up as immaturity. But, you know, he's a young guy and he's learning in this league, but some of those things he just got to clean up for the long run. Like, I understand that you're frustrated. I understand that you're going through it, but you got to start thinking big picture. You know, you're the only guy that I saw on my TV during Christmas selling me Sprite every other second. You know, and so those opportunities are coming by the dozen for Anthony Edwards, unless these type of things continue to happen. And for that, just as a big brother, as somebody that's from Atlanta, I would like to see those types of things start to calm down, and let's get back to the basketball.
And I'll piggyback on that. Just Mike Conley is probably my favorite, greatest teammate I've ever played for. So I don't think it's like a leader thing. And Chris Finch, I played for him as well in Houston. He's an awesome dude. And you look at this roster of Minnesota, it's a bunch of good dudes. I think it's guys that Anthony Edwards does respect. And I just think this comes down to straight basketball. I think it comes down to wins and losses. And he does have to be careful a little bit. You got to have a balance of calling your team out, having that fire, but also kind of being that secure, kind of common voice that kind of calms everyone down, but gets everybody ready to play. So as a young dude, he's been kind of thrown into the stardom role real quickly. But I do think that it's just all based on wins and losses and frustrations of kind of how the beginning of the season has gone. I don't think it has anything to do with leadership, because Mike Conley is class.
Never a bad thing I've heard. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. You're going to need this break because on the other side, we're going to talk about that Spurs game from last night. So take these 2 minutes, gentlemen. Get ready. We'll be right back.
Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back.
Last night, and if you went to bed in the third quarter, I'm talking to us East Coast, you have no idea how this thing turned out. Spurs just dominate the fourth. They beat the Lakers 126-102. They outscored them 37-13 in the fourth quarter. Wemby with 23, 8, and 2. Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle each had 23 points, which is amazing. So they're back at 500, which is big. Woohoo! Because that guarantee I made at the beginning of the season for us, it's looking good right now. Wemby averaging 25 points, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks this season. You know we're going to do a LeBron comparison because that's the world we live in. So LeBron's sophomore season, he averaged 27, 7, and 7. The team finished 42 and 40. Lou, let's compare the two. How do you compare Wemby to LeBron in his sophomore season?
I think he's doing a great job. You know, I think if we're going to do a head-to-head comparison, I still feel like LeBron gets him, you know, just simply based on the expectation level. We know what Wemby is going to be and what he's going to represent in the future. But when LeBron James came in this league, he was the undisputed face of the league. There was no question about it as an 18-year-old kid. So, and you look at the groups, right? You know, LeBron James played with Ilgauskas, Drew Gooden on that group, DeJuan Wagner, Jeff McInnes. These are guys that felt like they could all be the best player on that Cleveland Cavaliers team. And eventually they had to realize that, this 18, 19-year-old kid is going to be the guy that's going to lead us to a lot of success, and we got to follow his lead. So for a young guy to have that type of demand over his teammates and for them to be down with it, that tells you what his impact was at that time. Wemby is still filling out his case, and he's playing with a lot of other young guys. So the two expectation levels are completely different for these two guys. But make no mistake about it, Wemby is on the doorsteps of doing something very special in his very young career. Now, I will give him this. Even though LeBron James didn't have a play-in tournament when he was in his second year, if Wemby can get this team into a playoff position by the end of this year, we might be having a different conversation. But at this point, nobody had a rookie sophomore year like LeBron James. I mean, at the end of the day, the guy was already on his second signature shoe in his sophomore year, and it was one of the highest selling shoes. That should tell you what that impact was for LeBron versus a Wemby.
Yeah, it's fun to compare. And again, I think just Wemby's size and skill set and length, we've never seen anything like that. But then you look at LeBron and coming in as a high school student, we haven't seen physicality like him. And it's crazy what Wemby's doing. And again, this team is just going to keep getting better and better. And they've put already some solid pieces around him. Guys like Vassell, Stephon Castle is an unbelievable rookie, probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Keldon Johnson. They have so many of these young guys to grow with him. And then they have a lot of other guys that are watching from a distance, AKA De'Aaron Fox, AKA one of these other guards that would love to come and play with Wemby and kind of be that setup guy for him, be in this San Antonio system. So it's fun to compare. Now, listen, LeBron in 2007, a couple years after being drafted, took arguably the worst team to ever go to the finals, to the finals. early on in his career. So can Wemby do that? Can he now
We'll
take
see.
that next? We'll see. But
Mm.
it's a fun argument, and this game last night was a big win for them. To be in LA, changing your hotels, being there for so long, they didn't miss a beat, and they dominated that second half. This is a big win for them, and it's always fun to see two greats going up against each other. It's crazy to call him a great in his second year, but there's no doubt about it. He is a great, and he is going to be a great.
I mean, I kind of felt bad like that. I thought for sure that was going to be a Lakers win, given everything, obviously, that's been going on in the West Coast. So kind of a crazy win to have a fourth quarter like that. But let's talk a little bit about LeBron, because he is still optimistic. And I get it. You got to answer these questions, and you got to be careful how you answer them. But he did say, we are not the team I believe we're going to be once February and March hit, but I do like our chances. So Chandler, I suspect that means he's expecting some sort of a trade, that this team will look slightly different.
I think they're exactly where we thought they'd be, right? I don't know where the confusion is. They're kind of a middle of the pack team. They've went on some nice little runs. Anthony Davis has been fantastic for the most part. And LeBron, the fact that he's even this productive this later in his career, it has been impressive. But the Dorian Finney-Smith move, I like it just because I do feel like D'Angelo Russell just wasn't the right fit there from jump. He was kind of the doghouse guy from JJ Redick, and you can't have too many 3-and-D players like Dorian Finney-Smith, who I love. It just, I don't think that was the move that, oh, okay, now the Lakers are a contender. That didn't really move the needle like that. He's a great building block. He's a great role player for this team. But yeah, everyone knows they're still a star piece away from kind of being that contending team. LeBron James, you can't expect him to carry the load. He shouldn't even really be a part of the big two, big three at this point of his career. That's not fair to anybody. And Anthony Davis, you have to factor in that he's going to miss some games. He's going to be banged up sometimes, but when he's on the court, he's been great. And Austin, I love Austin Reeves. I love Rui. I love Dorian Finney-Smith. But these guys, they need a third, like the Donovan Mitchell name last year, like that they need someone of that caliber, I think, at this point of those guys' career to actually put themselves in contender as early as this year, because the West is very good. The West is deep. There's all these new young teams like the Houston Rockets, the Grizzlies, the Spurs, who are in the play-in right now. Like there's so many good teams. So I just think they're in the middle of the pack towards the bottom. And I think that's right where we thought they'd be.
Did we bet that the Spurs would make the play-in or the playoffs? Which one did I guarantee? I want to make sure I write it down.
Probably the play-in.
The playoffs, right?
I thought I said play. I think I started play-in and then I decided to up it. Either way.
Who bets that? Nobody bets the play-in.
Me. No, you can bet play-in on all the books for sure.
But what you're saying is I want my team to be a 10 team opposed to a top 7 team.
Don't get me wrong. I'm standing by both. I will bet both with both of you. So yeah, we're good. I just want to make sure I had it down right. And for example, a team you could bet to make the play-in that you probably maybe would have done would have been the Pistons, and they had a nice little win last night. So that's something we could look at.
Great little seggy. That was a great little seggy there.
We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Kate Cunningham finished with 36. Malik Beasley, 22 points off the bench. And P.S. at the Garden specifically, he's 15 of 18 from 3. Yep, say goodbye. They've won 10 of their last 12. They're 21-19 on the season. Yes, I'm smiling. They're 8th in the East. It's such a good story. They're a game behind the Pacers for 5th. Whoo, Chandler, how far up can they actually go?
Listen, the progress they've made from last year to this year is phenomenal. They've already blown past their total win amount from last year. They added some real vets to this team just to kind of give them that leadership, give them that voice in the locker room to help these young guys grow. And that name on the bottom of the screen right there, Cunningham, he's an absolute stud. He is a lock for the All-Star, and we need to be talking about him making All-NBA, because what he's doing this year, the numbers he's putting up, he's an absolute stud who has been carrying this team, making big plays down the stretch. He plays way above his years. So I'm so happy for this team. I'm so happy for this franchise. I'm so happy for JB Bickerstaff. And just when you take a job like this, you have a long runway, right? You're just looking for progress. You're just looking for, teams to kind of get back on track. There's no way they expected him to be this good, this quick. So you got to credit everyone in that franchise from top to bottom. But This is just great. They're getting the attention of the NBA right now. And I do think with all the drama in Miami and the up and down season Indiana has had, they can get to that 5-6 seed, I think, no problem. Cade Cunningham stays healthy, knock on wood. Yeah, I think in Orlando, who knows? When does Franz Wagner come back? Is Paolo, when's he going to get back to form? So the door is open for the Pistons. So I think this is where they can really make a run right here.
That is Lou, I got to ask you about Cade Cunningham. He's averaging 25, 7, and 9. When you watch him play, you think of like a contending team. Does he have what it takes to be the guy on a contending team?
Absolutely. Absolute stud. This is a breakout year for him. And just, you can tell by just the improvement that they've had from this season to last. And that, and a lot of that, you got to give him credit for the way he's led this team. He hadn't made any waves in the media. He's just gone out and been a hard-nosed defender. He's gone out there and just led the basketball team on the offensive end. I absolutely think he could be the #1 option on a title contending team. Now, how fast are we talking about? Who knows? You know, you throw a lot of pieces around him, a lot of veteran leadership, you might have a different conversation with Cade Cunningham, but he can absolutely be the #1 contending team, a #1 guy on a contending team, especially coming out of Detroit, you know, where they have a rich history of being a successful basketball team. But he's going to need the pieces around him, but he can absolutely be that guy.
And by the way, obviously Detroit's not the most fancy free agents, you know, destination, but if I'm around the league and I'm watching teams play, he's another guy that I would really enjoy playing with. He's a good dude. He's humble. He gets people involved. He's one of those point guards last year that we were talking about, Tyrese Halliburton. He's the new Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, he is that guy, or he is an absolute stud.
All right. I love that he's most improved player. It's also because everyone's watching now. I think that that's part of that as well. The Knicks, though, let's talk about that for a second. They've lost 5 of 7, and some of the losses, they're 2 to OKC, okay? 1 to Chicago, 1 to Orlando, and then, of course, last night to Detroit. So what are you taking from that, Chandler? Is this sort of changing the way you're looking at them as far as who they are in the East?
We said yesterday there's tiers to it, right? There's the Celtics and the Cavs, and there's kind of that drop off, and then there's the Knicks. And then there's the next tier where it's like Milwaukee, Orlando, the Detroit Pistons have kind of snuck into there. And to me, the starting 5 is fantastic. They defend, they're versatile, they can score. It's the bench, and it's always been the bench with the Tom Thibodeau team. And last night, you look no further than last night, they had 13 points off the bench from 2 guys, from Deuce and from Cam Payne. So the only other real rotation player they have right now with Mitchell Robinson out off the bench is Precious. So again, how long does that last? How good and healthy can the starting 5 that's really, really good, how long can that go on for? And I still think that gives them a chance just because how elite that starting lineup is. But depth is a real concern here, as always, with the Tibbs team. But he's not going to change. He's going to continue to play these guys high minutes. He's going to roll with his dudes that he trusts. And he's fortunate that this 5-6 man team that they have is really good, but it's just I don't know how long they can sustain that. It's such a long season, and when you watch them play, they lose games a lot of times because when they make substitutions and their rotations, they really take a hit. It's like their team is so much worse when they have 2 or 3 bench guys in the game. It's like the Nuggets without Jokic. It's a drastically different team. So I'd like to see them add something there. I don't know how they do that without giving up someone good, but depth is a real concern here for the Knicks.
It's tough. The Mitchell Robinson thing, like, when are you coming back? All I see on Instagram are pickup trucks and country music. Like, is he coming back anytime soon? And secondly, the committee met last night.
What he does? Is that what Mitchell Robinson?
He loves pickup trucks. Just go look at his Instagram. I don't know. I've never seen anyone love pickup trucks more in my whole life. Yeah, go look right now. We had a meeting last night here. The committee did. We would like Isaiah Stewart to go to the Knicks. Thoughts? I like it. He's tough. Yeah, okay,
good. Tibbs would love him.
Yes, I know. It would be so awesome. Yeah, we're going to take a look. We'll look at some of his Mitchell Robinson's Instagram posts here in a minute. But we got That Man Has a Family. I also call it El Hombre Tiene Una Familia. And we will start with Anthony Edwards. Of course, we're going to start with Anthony. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Whatever.
More it is. That's what we like. More it is.
I feel like he's had like 10 of these type dunks. Go on baseline, 2 feet, 1 hand. By the way, dude tried to get out of the way last second.
He did try to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Too late though. Ooh. No,
I thought we were about to see a blast from the past right there.
No, that was not what you wanted to see if you were Draymond.
Not what I was expecting. I was ready, Dre.
Lou got so excited. Sorry, buddy.
I like to see the old guys get up. It got me going.
He tried. Derek Lively. Double. The double. Mm-hmm.
Two-handed 2 feet is about as offensive as it gets.
Got everything.
One guys always get lost when they get dunked on. Look, now Kamara doesn't know where he is anymore.
I would. I'd pretend I was hurt. Şengün.
Then off the glass. That was a horse shot.
Is that not Jokic right there?
Wow, that was fun. But like faster.
He
that was rude.
With no dribble.
Didn't try and bank that.
That's a bad look, Triple J, with no dribble. Oh my God.
By the way, you noticed
that shot.
That the camera guy actually got duped on that one too, which is kind of awesome. Okay.
Things like Kelly Oubre. Every time Kelly Oubre dunks on himself, dunks on himself. He always hurts himself.
Don't say that. Knock on wood.
Michelle was just thinking.
Cannot afford it.
Michelle didn't even see the dunk. She hasn't got past his eyes.
He's beautiful, and you're the one that says it, not me. Rudy Gobert. Okay.
Okay, Rudy with the left hand.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much better when he doesn't catch it and come down. Just do that.
Just glad he's back.
Hello.
Look at Bankero. All right.
Glad he's back.
Come on, PG. Come on, PG. Get that baby out the street.
Yeah, it's all right.
I don't like these older players getting exposed on this segment here.
That's all right, because we're ending with the best one. Look out, Devin Vassell and Anthony Davis.
I
hated that voice, but this is a nice thing.
I'm working on some
quick dunk. This is a quick dunk. I ain't rolling.
I can't believe the fourth quarter happened. Like I'm a little still in shock. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's a tie game going into the fourth quarter. What happened?
Thank you. I don't know. Good things. Good
talk
things.
about this. These dudes scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. Who were you beating scoring 13 points in the fourth quarter?
No one. No one, and certainly not the Spurs.
Chandler.
You do, actually. You want to? Okay, we're going to keep complaining in the commercial break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about LeBron a little bit. Is he too nice? Who said that? Yeah, look it up. Mitchell Robinson.
Run it back, run it up.
I've never seen a better basketball player than Michael Jordan. And I always use this analogy because I don't even put LeBron above Kobe. I say, but the difference is LeBron's a nice guy. Nobody ever said that about Michael and Kobe.
That's fair. But what are we talking about here? Because you can be both, can you not? I mean, are we really looking at LeBron like he's too nice? And by the way, that's subjective. But he's too nice to be the GOAT, Lou? Like,
are we still doing this? Like
forever.
At this point, it's Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. You take your pick how you want to go 1, 2, and 3. LeBron James is in that conversation. He went out and got a record in 40,000 points that we felt like would never be touched. And for him to even be considered a guy that's not even a scorer or that has this killer mentality and goes out and get that record. And yes, a lot of that comes with longevity, but two out of the 3 of those guys in that conversation came out of high school, and by all means, he's done above and beyond what we've expected him to do as a player. Now, can you make the argument that he should have more championships? Sure, but we're talking about a guy that if you're a kid for 9 straight years, you watched LeBron James in the NBA Finals when you were growing up. You don't know another definition of greatness growing up. So I don't know where the nice thing comes into this debate. Sure, he could have had a more of a killer instinct, the killer mentality that people love to say Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant had because of how they carried themselves. But LeBron James is in that same conversation with those guys, whether we accept it or not. But I think these conversations are generational. The older guys, they expected their stars to operate in a certain space, and LeBron James didn't really operate like that. So I understand Charles Barkley's point of view when it comes to Michael Jordan. But, again, if you're a 19-year-old kid a decade, you watch LeBron James every single year compete for a championship, and you can't tell that kid nothing the same way you probably can't tell young kids that grew up in the 80s and 90s anything about Michael Jordan. So there you have
That's
it.
right. You can't tell me nothing, and don't even try. Here's the thing. I don't think it's nice. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here. I think Kobe and MJ gave off an air of they didn't give a damn what you thought about them. You could think they were jerks. It didn't matter. Whereas I think Chandler LeBron really does care, which sometimes can be viewed as sort of a weird insecurity.
Yeah, and listen, with Kevin Durant having burner accounts and things like that, now they social media, who knows what they would have had back in their day. So we can't get eras confused with greatness. Like, doesn't make sense. By the way, Curry, he's arguably he's the greatest point guard of all time in most people's eyes. He's probably the nicest guy I've ever met outside of Mike Conley. So like, who cares? They're like, he's really good at basketball. I love Kobe, God rest his soul, but he's not top 3 in most people's eyes. So I don't even understand how this is even an argument with him. And
Wait,
LeBron.
who's the third? It's MJ, LeBron, and
I think it's Shaq, but there's a lot of guys would go even older than him. But like, I don't think if you look at rankings across the world, I don't think Kobe is in most people's top 3. He's not. But to put him over LeBron, like, again, it's an opinion. You think he's top 3, Lou?
I ain't rolling, Chandler. Yeah, absolutely.
I would rank Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant above Kobe.
Yeah,
wow.
it's also generational, Chandler. I'm a smidge older than you, so it's right there at that borderline. But Kobe gets caught up in that conversation because Kobe has publicly said like he wanted to be MJ, down to like what he did with his numbers on his jersey or his mannerisms and all of that. So he gets caught up in that 1-1A conversation, and him and Jordan are like this, where LeBron is more of a Magic Johnson style player where he stands alone. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be younger guys that's going to put Kevin Durant in that conversation. I'm a Shaq guy as well, Chandler. So
and there's older people.
Kobe's in that conversation though.
Magic and Larry Bird, the older guys would put them above Kobe. So it's a generational argument.
Right. Yeah, it's hard if you didn't see any of it. Even if you go to YouTube,
going to be in a lot of those top 3s, though. He's going to be in a lot of those top 3s.
I think so too. Charles was just, by the way, Charles is just going off on everybody who's nice. It's kind of a funny interview, but he also went on the Devin Booker thing and said he's too nice of a guy, that he doesn't hold teammates accountable. That's an interesting take on sort of the leadership that's going on in Phoenix between Devin and KD, Chandler.
Charles.
I know, right? It's like everybody's too nice. I wish everyone was too nice, but
I've spent a lot of time this summer with Charles Barkley, just in different golf events. He's a nice dude. Like, obviously, I never played against him. Like, what are we doing with this whole nice thing? Like,
too nice.
Are you supposed to be like a nice dude? Are you raised?
What are we
like,
dating?
Like, you're supposed to be. We're getting praised for being assholes now. Like, this is just weird to me. Like, you can be both. Like, you can be great at basketball. Yeah. And a respectful, nice human being. Like, this is weird to me, but sure. Is Devin Booker, is he this loud voice, disruptive guy? No, and by the way, most people that are like that, we put down and we say they're out of control and they're, you know what I mean? So like, I think it's great that we have these respectful, nice human beings that happen to be really good at basketball.
Kind of funny. It is. Again, this is like a dating. When you're talking to your girlfriends about dating, you're like, he's too nice. I've never heard it as a conversation for this.
Saying this about Steph Curry, though. He's the nicest superstar probably in the history of sports. Is that a bad thing?
Is it because Steph Curry, we've seen him, we just saw it in the Olympics. He'll also just throw a dagger in your face. There is still a little bit of that.
LeBron James.
I agree.
All these guys.
Devin Booker's the one that I don't think I've ever really heard him talk. So I kind of see how that maybe comes up in conversation, but LeBron, I don't agree with at all. Paul George did not say he was too nice. We can move on from that. He obviously has been having to play the 5 a little bit.
A really nice guy.
Too nice.
Really?
He's too nice.
Kind guy.
Well,
kind fellow.
if it makes you feel better, he's had to talk about the fact that he's had to play the 5 when Joel Embiid's not out there, and said he is bored playing center for the Sixers. It is weird. I mean, he's 6'8". He's got the injury history. Is it weird when he does have to play it? No.
Yeah. This is small ball going too far. This is especially if you're not going to have a style that works for Paul George to be effective at the 5. Like if you have him out there being a traditional 5 where he's screening, rolling, playing in a dunker, playing in the middle of the floor, and just being a facilitator. I don't think you're giving yourself an opportunity to use Paul George in the correct way if you're going to play small ball in this area, especially when he's telling you that he's bored. If he's bored, and he's probably one of your better scorers on the floor next to Tyrese Maxey, you're going to have to figure out a way to make him useful if you're going to play him that way. So I understand him speaking out and saying, this is not really my style. You know, on the flip side of that, you got to work Martin in there. You just got back Oubre back from injury, and you got a lot of small guys. You got a lot of like-sized guys that can be impactful for you. But if Paul George is going to be out on the floor, by all means, you got to put him in a position to be successful. So this ain't it.
Yeah, and I understand the logic of it. Like, listen, Joel's going to be out a lot of games. How can we tweak the lineup? How can we maybe have Paul George being defended by other people's bigs and their centers? So I understand, but in small sample sizes, the fact that he's saying he's bored, I would probably eliminate this for majority of the time. But I understand as a coach, you try everything, especially if you're Philly this year with no Joel, guys in and out of the lineup, trying to get Paul George touches and reps, putting him in situations where he can attack and get downhill on a slower, bigger guy. It makes sense, but clearly it hasn't worked and he doesn't love it.
He does not love it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, take a look around the league for tonight and wrap things up here on Run It Back.
The run it back, run it up, the run it back, run it back.
Got a little battle in the East tonight. Cavs at Pacers. Pacers just beat Cleveland, which was a big deal. And we haven't talked a lot about them, but they've won 6 straight. They're up to 5th in the East, 2.5 games behind the Knicks. Do you think, Lou, that they have what it takes to get up to the 3 spot?
They got some work to do. I think that'll be something that we watch out for. You know, this was a team that's been inconsistent throughout this season, but they found their stride going into this All-Star break. So can they get to that 3? It's going to be a little climb. It'll be interesting to see what they can do with Orlando, but to get the Knicks, the Cavs, and the Celtics, who are kind of touted as the big 3, I don't see them getting there, but I like where they are as a team.
I think they just gave us so much hope last season that we thought it was expected better, but they have a balanced attack. Siakam, Halliburton, Mather, and Turner, they're all giving you anywhere from 15 to 20 points a game. I thought they'd make that jump, and they just haven't so far this year.
Well, let's prop party this bad boy. Halliburton doubtful to play. Chandler, go first. Quick.
No Halliburton is a big problem. Give me Cavs -7. And Garland, I think, exposes whoever they put in a point. TJ McConnell, Nembhard, whoever they got. Garland goes at.
And the -7, Lou.
Hey, word around town, it's a big man's league again, so I'm going big on big. Jared Allen, points and rebounds for me today. I'm doubling down on the guy. Let's get it.
Oh my gosh. I kind of am doing almost the same thing. Give me Mobley over on the points and over on the rebounds.
We're all over the Cavs tonight. We probably agree on our party.
So much for them cracking the top 3.
Oh God, what's happening? We'll see you guys tomorrow.